The simple step of shifting your focus and your breathing awakens a network of specialized cells in your heart known as sensory neurites. The more you practice creating coherence between your heart and your brain, the easier it becomes to do so. The Lord's Prayer reflects the complete structure of the universal code, and it's for this reason that this revered wisdom code is seen as a template, as the prayer of prayers. And while our changes may be subtle and perhaps even go unnoticed by those with whom we share our lives, it's precisely these changes that give us the wisdom, confidence, and power to awaken a deeper power within ourselves. Neuroscientist Andrew Newberg, MD, and his co-author Mark Robert Waldman tell us that a single word has the power to influence the expression of genes that regulate physical and emotional stress. Almost universally, we use words to comfort ourselves in times of need. From the Blessing Way prayer used by the Navajo of the American Desert Southwest, or the Diné people as they know themselves in their own tongue, to honor natural order in times of chaos, to the Old Testament priestly blessing discovered on 2 tiny silver scrolls dating to nearly 3,000 years ago. World history is filled with examples of words that have soothed, comforted, and protected us. In writing the wisdom codes, I envisioned a collection of trusted words that we've historically turned to in times of need. This group of revered prayers, mantras, chants, and hymns is designed to provide reassurance, protection, and healing when life brings danger, hurt, unspeakable loss, and self-doubt to our doorstep. In such times, all we may have is ourselves, and ultimately, that's all we need. Once I understood this simple truth, it made perfect sense that we already have the power to rewire our brains on demand, and in doing so, to choose to self-regulate the way we respond to life's extremes. And this is the power of the wisdom codes. In their presence, we are changed. We associate the words of the codes with the meaning that we give to the words. And it's this association that directs our brain cells, our neurons, to connect in a precise way that harmonizes our biology with the energy of our emotions. Chemically, we are no longer the same person we were only moments or hours before. And while our changes may be subtle and perhaps even go unnoticed by those with whom we share our lives, it's precisely these changes that give us the wisdom, confidence, and power to awaken a deeper power within ourselves. We think in words, we speak in words. In the silence of our minds, we hear the word messages of our subconscious thoughts, repeating at the dizzying rate of 60,000 to 80,000 times each day according to scientific estimates. Recent studies confirm a theory that was first proposed early in the 20th century, that the words of our everyday language directly influence the way our brain wires itself when it comes to how we think and even what we are capable of thinking about. The discovery of our word-brain relationship is not the product of a well-coordinated research effort in the state-of-the-art laboratory searching for such a mystical-sounding link. Rather, it's the result of an unexpected realization that emerged from an unplanned teaching assignment between 1937 and 1938. It was during this time that American linguist Benjamin Lee Whorf found himself substitute instructing a graduate-level class in Native American linguistics. While filling in for a colleague who was on a year-long sabbatical, Whorf recognized a previously overlooked nuance in the language of the North American Hopi. Speakers of this language described the events of everyday life without using or even referencing the experience of time. In other words, the Hopi language uses words that describe the present moment and what's happening in the moment with no words to directly describe the past or the future. It was this paradigm-altering use of language that led Whorf to the discovery that our words influence the way our neurons connect, a discovery that shattered the scientific beliefs of his day and remains controversial as well as acclaimed today. In times of need, I invite you to listen to the wisdom codes. The steps that follow describe a time-tested sequence for you to apply the wisdom codes and the power of the codes in your life in the same way that served our ancestors in the past. For the first step, familiarize yourself with the wisdom code that you've selected by listening to its source and its background. This powerful first step creates an opening that invites the words of the past to serve you in the present. For example, knowing that the same words that protected Moses 3,000 years ago during his perilous journey to receive the Ten Commandments on Mount Sinai are available today gives us a reason to believe that the protection he received in his day is available for us as well. Step number 2, shift your focus using a technique that is called the quick coherence technique. The simple step of shifting your focus and your breathing awakens a network of specialized cells in your heart known as sensory neurites, and these sensory neurites set into motion a sequence of hormonal and electrical signals in your body that create an emotional opening for you to embrace a new point of view. Focusing your awareness in the heart is effective because while the brain typically perceives the world as filled with polarity, the heart does not. The heart is a non-polar organ. Many of the paradigm-altering discoveries regarding the human heart have been made by scientists at the Institute of Heart Math, a pioneering research organization dedicated to understanding the full potential of the human heart. By understanding the conditions of focus and breathing that create harmony in the body, a state technically known as psychophysical coherence, we can create those conditions to optimize the potential of the word codes in our own lives. The technique to achieve this harmony is appropriately called quick coherence, or the quick coherence technique, because it's been refined into 2 simple steps through the people at Heart Math. Individually, these steps send signals to the body that relieve stress and optimize our potential for healing, but combined, the technique creates a full body harmony that we typically experience in life when we feel safe and have a sense of well-being. Following is the quick coherence technique, adapted with permission from the Heart Math Institute. To use this technique, first, I invite you to begin by shifting your focus from your thinking mind to the area of your feeling heart. Sometimes it helps to gently touch the area of your heart with 1 or 2 fingers or an open palm, in a way that's comfortable for you, to direct your awareness away from your mind to your heart. Next, I invite you to begin breathing just a little slower than usual, as if your breath is coming from the area of your heart. And as you slow your breathing, I want you to know that you are sending a signal to your body and your heart specifically, a signal that you are in a place that is safe and that it's okay to turn your attention inward. The next step, I invite you to activate a positive feeling in your heart, as if that feeling is coming from the center of your chest. To the best of your ability, feel a regenerative feeling such as gratitude or appreciation, care or compassion for someone or something in your life. The key in this step is to do the best that you can do, to create the feeling to the best of your ability and then surrender to the feeling, fully embracing it while allowing it to radiate from your heart area to fill and permeate your entire being. These 3 simple steps create the conditions in your body to optimize the harmony and the coherence between your heart and your brain. Following step number 2, the third step, is to listen to the wisdom code one more time. From the perspective of heart-brain connection that you've just created in step number 2, repeat the wisdom code that you've chosen, either silently or speaking it out loud. And without judging the ancient and sometimes awkward grammar or the poor sentence structure of these codes or the differences in translation, I'm inviting you to allow the wisdom and the intent of the message to permeate your entire being in the present moment. Ancient traditions, such as those of the monks in Tibet, typically speak their wisdom codes as they exhale their breath. So the technique is to continue speaking or breathing the lines of your wisdom code for a minimum of 3 minutes. Scientists have found that this is the minimal amount of time for the body to lock in its responses to the emotional shifts that you're creating through the word codes. For the fourth and final step, I invite you to simply notice how your body feels. Your body will respond quickly to the changes that you create in your awareness and your breathing. And while these changes may be subtle at first, they become more apparent as you become more attuned to the sensation. So now I invite you to pay attention to your physical sensations. The key here is to notice the difference that has occurred in your body from the beginning of the time that you began the word code process and now. And as with any other skill, the more you practice creating coherence between your heart and your brain, the easier it becomes to do so. Because all humankind shares certain fears, we have a universal sense that we sometimes need refuge and protection. Sometimes we feel a need to protect ourselves from forces that may be seen, such as an obvious physical threat, but sometimes we feel the need to protect ourselves from forces that are not so obvious because we can't see them. Unseen forces can be more difficult to remedy. These are the forces that our ancestors addressed through the use of wisdom codes that shift our perspective and in turn, the chemistry of our bodies, to shield us when we feel the need for personal protection. The following wisdom codes for protection are taken from traditional prayers of the Christian, Buddhist, and Vedic traditions. Wisdom Code 1, Psalm 91. The first wisdom code number 1, states that he that dwelleth in the secret place of the Most High shall abide under the shadow of the Almighty. I will say of the Lord, He is my refuge and my fortress, my God. In Him will I trust. This wisdom code is used for protection. The code itself was actually created by the prophet Moses as he climbed Mount Sinai to shield him from unknown forces during his ascent. The source of this wisdom code is the King James Version of the Bible, Psalms chapter 91, verses 1 and 2. Among the 39 books in the Old Testament of the Protestant Christian Bible, the book of Psalms is unique. The general theme of the 18 books that precede Psalms and the 20 that follow it is that they primarily contain information, instructions, and commands directed from God to the people of the earth. And this is where Psalms is different. It does just the opposite. Although Moses' original prayer in its entirety consisted of 16 verses, it's often abbreviated to only the first 2 verses that follow for ease of use and when time is of the essence. The abbreviated prayer goes as follows. He that dwelleth in the secret place of the Most High shall abide under the shadow of the Almighty. I will say of the Lord, He is my refuge and my fortress. My God, in Him will I trust. As mentioned previously, while the first 2 verses are often recited as a brief prayer protection, the entire prayer can be and often is used as well. Following is the complete version of Psalm 91 with the various names of God in individual lines emphasized for your convenience. He that dwelleth in the secret place of the Most High shall abide under the shadow of the Almighty. I will say of the Lord, He is my refuge and my fortress. My God, in Him will I trust. Surely He shall deliver thee from the snare of the fowler and from the noisome pestilence. He shall cover thee with His feathers, and under His wings shalt thou trust. His truth shall be thy shield and buckler. Thou shalt not be afraid for the terror by night, nor from the arrow that flieth by day, nor for the pestilence that walketh in darkness, nor for the destruction that wasteth at noonday. 1,000 shall fall at thy side, and 10,000 at thy right hand, but it shall not come nigh thee. Only with thine eyes shalt thou behold and see the reward of the wicked, because thou hast made the Lord, which is my refuge, even the Most High thy habitation. There shall no evil befall thee, neither shall any plague come nigh thy dwelling. For he shall give his angels charge over thee to keep thee in all ways. They shall bear thee up in their hands, lest thou dash thy foot against a stone. Thou shalt tread upon the lion and adder. Because he hath set his love upon me, therefore will I deliver him. I set him on high, because he hath known my name. He shall call upon me, and I will answer him. I will be with him in trouble. I will deliver him and honor him. With long life will I satisfy him and show him my salvation. Wisdom Code 2, the Buddhist Prayer of Refuge. In its entirety, Wisdom Code number 2 states, quote, "In the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha, I take refuge until I attain enlightenment." End of quote. This code is also used for protection. It addresses the need for personal protection at a spiritual level for a specific period of time. The source of this prayer is the traditional Tibetan Buddhist prayer of refuge, and the full text is included in the discussion that follows. The Buddhist prayer of refuge has uncertain origins. While the great yogi Atisa is often thought to have been the author, there remains uncertainty and controversy as to whether he personally created the prayer or was so instrumental in spreading the teachings that it is simply attributed to him. As a master teacher of the Buddhist traditions, Atisa organized and distilled the essence of Buddha's 84,000 teachings into a single seminal text that's still used today. In his classic text, titled Lamp for the Path to Enlightenment, Atisa describes the practices that comprise the Buddhist prayer of refuge. This prayer, Wisdom Code number 2, is known by names that include the prayer of refuge, the instruction on refuge, Atisa's refuge prayer, and more commonly, the prayer of the three jewels. While the prayer itself contains many layers of depth and meaning, the essence of the prayer is represented by only 3 brief verses. And just as the simple letters C, T, A, and G represent a deeper meaning for the DNA codes of life, each verse of the Wisdom Code number 2 represents a deeper meaning of understanding for ourselves and the experiences of our lives. Following is a brief anatomy of this prayer, describing the meaning of refuge itself and 4 underlying principles that give us varying degrees of refuge in our daily lives. The meaning of refuge. The traditional Buddhist texts describe different kinds and varying degrees of refuge that we may seek over the course of our lives. With respect to Wisdom Code 2, the word refuge can initially mean protection from suffering by turning to ways of thinking and living that reflect the teachings of the Buddha. And this kind of refuge is described as taking the form of 3 objects or principles: the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly or Sangha. The English translation of this timeless wisdom code is spoken as follows, quote, "In the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha, I take refuge until I attain enlightenment." End of quote. In the Sanskrit language that was the code's origin, each fragment of the wisdom code begins with the word Namo, meaning homage or reverence. With this in mind, the code in original Sanskrit is spoken as follows: Namo Buddhaya, Namo Dharmaya, Namo Sanghaya. Wisdom Code 3, the Lord's Prayer. The abbreviated version of Wisdom Code 3 states, quote, "Our Father in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, as in heaven, so on earth." End of quote. This code addresses the need for personal protection on both a physical and a spiritual level. The source of this code is translated from the original Syriac dialect of an ancient Aramaic gospel. It is a shortened, standalone version of the longer original prayer that appears in the biblical book of Matthew, chapter 6, verses 9 through 13, and in a briefer version in the book of Luke, chapter 11, verses 2 through 4. The Lord's Prayer, also on occasion known as the Our Father prayer, is arguably the best known and most widely used ancient word code in the Christian tradition. The version of the Lord's Prayer in Gospel Q represents its oldest version, in which are preserved what are believed to be the original words that Jesus shared with his followers, and it's for this reason that I've chosen the English translation closest to the original words of Jesus' time as possible, which was prepared by George M. Lomsa early in the 20th century. The Lord's Prayer reflects the complete structure of the universal code, and it's for this reason that this revered wisdom code is seen as a template, as the prayer of prayers. For your convenience, I'll summarize the full English translation of the original Syriac version of Wisdom Code number 3, followed by the original Aramaic words as follows. Our Father in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come. Thy will be done, as in heaven, so on earth. Give us bread for our needs from day to day, and forgive us our offenses, as we have forgiven our offenders. And do not let us enter into temptation, but deliver us from evil. In the Aramaic, Abun Dabash Maya, Nid Kadash Amach, Te Maukuta, Nehwe Te Yanak Aikana, Dabash Maya Avbara, Avlan Lakma Dusun Kanan Yoman, Washbuklan Haben Wahtain, Akayana Dahanan, Shwahan Lahayaben, Uelata Lanla Nesuna, Elapatsa Min Bisha, Metul Dilak Amaukuta, Wahaila Wash Bukta, La Alam Amin. Amen. Wisdom Code 4, the Gayatri Mantra. In its entirety, Wisdom Code 4 states Brahma, the manifestation of spiritual energy, destroyer of sufferings, embodiment of happiness, bright like sun, destroyer of sins, divine intellect who may inspire. This mantra, which is known as the Gayatri Mantra, addresses personal protection as well as the need to clear personal obstacles in our lives. The Vedic prayer of refuge, known as the Gayatri Mantra or the Great Mantra, is so revered in the Hindu tradition that it's often referred to as the mother of the Vedas. The original source of the Gayatri Mantra is the most ancient of the Vedic texts, the Rig Veda. The Gayatri Mantra has a long and complex past. Its 3,800-year history includes multiple translations that reflect the varied interpretations of the translators throughout that time. The following interpretation is from Hindu scholar Swami Vivekananda. He lived from 1863 and he died in 1902. Once again, because there is no direct correspondence between the words of Sanskrit and those of the English language, any translation of the Gayatri Mantra is only an approximation of the original language and intent. So with this in mind, Swami Vivekananda's interpretation of the mantra's general meaning is as follows. Quote, we meditate on the glory of that being who has produced this universe. May he enlighten our minds. End of quote. The following is a 20th century translation of exactly the same mantra from Hindu scholar Sri Gyan Rajan's that is also accepted by modern yoga and Vedic scholars. Quote, O thou existence absolute, creator of the three dimensions, we contemplate upon thy divine light. May he stimulate our intellect and bestow upon us true knowledge. End of quote. The Gayatri Mantra is used as a source of inner strength and power. In addition to protection, it is believed to endow us with a host of other benefits, among them a stronger mind, specifically enhanced concentration, and improved breathing and health. As detailed in Wisdom Code number 3, this template reflects universal principles of the flow of information, and it utilizes the three parts identified previously as a template, that is, a declaration, a function statement, or several function statements, and a completion statement. With these relationships in mind, in the following I will share a possible translation of the original mantra accompanied by the meaning of each word of the mantra. This particular translation is the work of Hindu scholar Kumar Ajmani, Ph.D. For continuity, I'll also illustrate the relationship of these words within the context of the universal prayer template described previously. In the Sanskrit language, the declaration begins with the word Om. It means God's ultimate name. Bhur Bhuva Swaha, and this means the inherent qualities that exist as God. Bhur is existence. Bhava illustrates God's consciousness. And Swaha tells us God is inherent in all things. The first function statement, Tat Savatur Varinyam. This means within the context of the Gayatri that the user is selflessly directing praise to God. The word Tat means that, and in the Gayatri, this indicates that the praises are being directed to God. Savatur is a name for God as the source of all things, as well as God's blessing for humankind. Varinyam means who is eligible or who is worthy of receiving God's blessings. Function statement number 2. Bhargo Devasya Dim Ahi. These three words further describe the qualities of God from a functional perspective. Bhargo describes the light that is God's love. Devasya is derived from the Sanskrit word deva and illustrates the many facets of God's attributes without which nothing can exist. Dhimahi means to place our focus upon God. The completion statement. Diyo yona prachodayat. The diyo in this statement means intellect and is used in this mantra to ask God to direct our abilities and the use of our intellect. Yo means who and reminds us that our prayer is for God alone. Na means ours and signifies that our mantra is for all people in addition to ourselves. Prachodayat completes the mantra and signifies that the entire mantra is a request to God as we seek safety and peace and happiness. The Gayatri Mantra continues to cross the traditional boundaries of religion and spirituality and remains one of the most popular mantras used in the world today. Among the reasons for its popularity are the many and varied applications that lend themselves to the mantra. These include the protection that results from clearing both the physical and emotional obstacles that may appear along our path as we seek the deeper wisdom of our own spiritual growth.